Okay, now we're going to do the pre-trip portion of the side and back of the truck. So we're going to start at the driver's side entryway, which will be right here, and we'll just start at the top and work our way down. So we've got our mirror, and it's not cracked, broken, dirty, and it's securely mounted. Then we'll just go into our door. We'll go to the latch, make sure it latches securely, and then we're going to go ahead and open the door after that. And then we're going to go ahead and check that the hinges aren't bent or broken, or none of the bolts are missing, and that the seals are in place and they're not broken, missing, or damaged. Okay, and then we're just going to kind of work our way down the side of the truck from there. So we've got, from here, we've got our steps that are securely mounted. There's no obstructions in there, and there's no damage, and they're not broken. And then we go into our fuel tank. Our fuel tank is securely mounted. There's no dents or cracks, no damage, and it's not leaking. Then we go ahead and check our cap. We want to make sure that it's securely mounted, it's on there tight, and it's not leaking as well. So we'll go ahead and go from there. And then we'll just kind of have a flow here. Now we're going to go back just a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and go to the steps to the catwalk. And we can do those again as well. We've done steps, but they're securely mounted. They're not damaged. There's no debris inside. And they're kind of doing a flow here. We go into the frame as well. So the frame isn't cracked or broken or damaged. It's not bent. There's no illegal welds, any of that. And then we can just go into the catwalk here. And it's not bent, broken, damaged. It's not loose. None of the bolts are missing. So then we can kind of go, you can either go down to the drive line, or you can just go ahead and work your way around to the back of the tractor. So that's kind of where we're going to go next. As you can see, the back of the truck isn't damaged, the glass isn't broken. Then we can also look at our exhaust here and make sure it's securely mounted. None of the clamps are broken or loose, and there's no black soot that would indicate that there's leaking. And that's how we tell that exhaust is leaking. Okay, we can also check the hoses here to make sure that they're not damaged and broken in any way. And then we can, while we're up there, we can go ahead and look down now at our drive shaft, and we make sure that that's not bent or broken, and it's securely mounted here, and there's no debris in here as well. So we've got that taken care of as well. And then we'll just kind of go from there. And then we're going to work into our suspension. Now our suspension is almost on every truck. It's a little different. Some have airbags and some don't. But if we have the airbags, we've got an upper mount here and a lower mount here. We want to mention both of those. This is secure. No, if there are bolts, they're not broken or missing, and they're not damaged. Then the airbags themselves, they're not cracked, broken, there's no damage, and they're not leaking. So then we can also look back here and we can see the shocks. So then the shocks are securely mounted, and we don't see any leaking on them as well. So we'll go ahead and go from there. And as you can see, then sometimes we call securely mounted to the upper arm. And then we're going to go into the leaf springs here. Now, if we go to the leaf springs, a lot of times people just think it's just the leaf springs themselves, which is important. But we have a hanger here, and we have either a control arm or a hanger to hold the front of the leaf springs there as well. And then we also have the U-bolts. So we actually have 4 different things here on the leaf springs that we're looking at. So that we can start at let's start at the front spring hanger or control arm. It's securely mounted. None of the bolts are broken or missing. Okay, then let's go back here. We got our U-bolts, so they're securely mounted. None of their nuts are missing on the bottom. And then we can come here and we can look at our leaf springs themselves. They're not broken, cracked, missing. They're not scissored, and there's not more than 25% missing. And then we'll go ahead and go back here and look at our rear spring hanger. And it's securely mounted, and none of the bolts are missing there. So there's actually 4 things you want to look at when you look at the leaf springs that are real important. So again, we can show that they're not bent, broken, cracked. The rear mount secure, no bolts, front mount, and all that. And then we can also see that the U-bolts are secure, because this is important. Okay, now we're going to go in. I recommend that before you go into the brakes, where we are right now, you take a look back at all the suspension and see if you forgot anything. Because once you get into the brake system, you come into the tires and wheels and you won't go back, and then it's going to be easy to forget something. So I recommend before you do the brakes, just stop and look at your suspension and make sure you got everything. Now let's go and do the brakes. We'll start with the hose up here. It's securely mounted, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, not leaking. And then the brake chamber here, we can see it from the other arrow as well. It's securely mounted, not leaking, it's not broken, the clamp is secure. And then back here we've got the slack adjuster, so we want to make sure that it's securely mounted, none of the pins are missing, and then it shouldn't go more than 1 inch, or automatic slack adjusters, it shouldn't be less than 90-degree angle. Okay, then we'll go into the brake shoes and drums here. The one over here is the brake shoes or linings, and the one over here is the drum. So we'll go ahead and look. So on the linings, they're not too thin and they're not cracked, broken, and missing. Now most companies, they'll have a policy of a 1/4 inch at minimum, so you can use that as well. Dangerously thin is acceptable too. So we'll go ahead and then we'll go into the brake drums. They're not cracked or damaged. They're not bluish in color, which would be from overheating. And then we'll just go into the tires, because we're doing a flow here. So we'll abrasions, bulges, cuts on the tires, not cut, split, that's a condition. Then we also have the inflation and the depth. So inflation, condition, and depth. So the inflation we check with a mallet or a gauge. Now the reason they let you use a mallet, you can do it by sound and then put the gauge on there, because it's just hard to do a gauge with 18 tires. And then the depth is an important thing. On the front tires, the steering axles, it's 4/32, and then on the rest of the tires, it's 2/32 on all the rest. So on the tires, you want to go through all 3 of these items: the inflation, the condition, and the depth. Okay, and then we'll go into the wheel or the rim. Now this is something we just want to make sure they're not cracked, broken, no illegal welds, not bent, they holds the bead. And then we'll go ahead and go into the lug nuts. Okay, so the lug nuts aren't cracked, broken, or missing. There's no signs of looseness as trails or shiny spots. So the trails could be going out this direction or this direction. If you see that, you'll know that your lug nuts are getting a little loose, which is not a good thing. Okay, that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, and then we'll go to the hub cover here, and it's not cracked, broken, or leaking. And then let's go back for just a second, because we want to make sure that the seal there is not leaking or broken, and all the nuts and bolts are in place. Okay. Then we're just going to go around to the back of the tractor. Okay, because we've done our axle, but now we've got a few things in the back. So we've got our reflective tape here, and then the lights are not cracked or broken or damaged either, or dirty. Okay. And then we'll also look at our mud flaps, and you can do these in any order, but just do them all. Okay. So then the mud flaps shouldn't be cracked or broken or damaged and not missing. And that basically is the side and back of the tractor, including the axle. Hope this helps you. Thank you.